For decades, Maria Shriver has lived her life squarely in the public eye. But now she's revealing herself in ways we've never seen before. We get chapter and verse from our Lee Cowan.
You're kind of a Californian girl, though.
I guess I always say I'm going home to Washington, or I'm going home to the Cape, or I'm going home to Boston. So, I don't know, I'm a little bit of everything.
You might know Maria Shriver because of her famous family, or because of her famous former husband. Maybe you know her as First Lady of California, a network news journalist, or a women's health advocate. In fact, you may think you know all about Maria Shriver. But you don't, she says, because until recently, she didn't even know who she was herself.
I got separated and I found myself in my mid-50s thinking like, okay, what do I do now? Where am I going? Who am I? And I just sat down and looked out the window and started writing. And out it came.
What came out? Poetry.
They are everywhere, the fragments of me, in the closet, in the drawer, in the ceiling looking down. The fragments of me are all over the land. People say like, oh, poetry, I don't know about poetry. And I'm like, why not? Just give it a chance.
I Am Maria, out this week, is an unflinchingly public account of a very private journey.
Reading it, I almost felt like at some moments I was like intruding in your innermost thoughts. It's a pretty vulnerable thing to put that all out there.
Yeah, it is. And I'm scared about it a little bit, yeah.
You begin talking about as a child, your life kind of in the Kennedy shadow, that being Maria was kind of Kennedy adjacent.
I, didn't want to go through my life being asked which Kennedy I was. I wanted to figure out who I was, aside from the hair and the teeth that everybody just kept pointing to.
She was just 12 when her uncle, Robert F. Kennedy, was gunned down. She was even younger when her other uncle, President John F. Kennedy, was assassinated in Dallas.
I grew up with that city being like, whoa. That word pulls the trigger, rips through my house like the wind. I said, one day I'll go to you, yell at the air, at the building, at anyone who was there. Years passed, the pain didn't. It wasn't something that anybody really talked about, so I just didn't talk about it either. And
nobody asked how you were doing, or?
Not that I'm aware of. I grew up in a family that soldiered on, and I think there's a lot that's admirable about that, but I think there's a lot that then you never get to know about yourself.
It seems as if before she was running through the forest of her big life, and now at age 69, she's stopping at individual trees. Moments, she writes.
You look at those moments like little stones. You turn them upside down and right side up. You stare at them. Look for what you saw and what you missed.
One of those stones glittered with Hollywood magic. Her marriage to Arnold Schwarzenegger, later California's governor.
I had been with Arnold since I was 21. I had gone straight from my parents to him.
Years later, though, that once glittering stone pulled her underwater when the two divorced.
Shame filled my body. Humiliation filled my soul. Every inch of my being crumbled.
And that's where she says she'll leave it.
I don't believe in kind of talking behind other people's backs in public. It's just never been my jam. And I'm in a good place with Arnold, and that's really important to me. I usually stand in the back because I come here a little late. I'm not always the first person in the pew.
It's been here at St. Monica Catholic Church in Los Angeles, where her faith has gotten her through many a challenge.
I've yelled at God. I don't know anybody who hasn't, So then I just take my focus off him and move to Mary.
She minored in theology at Georgetown and actually considered being a nun.
Then I heard that, they didn't have sex and they had to take a vow of poverty. I'm like, I'm out.
She eventually landed in the secular world of journalism, first here at CBS.
And I'm Maria Shriver. Today is Thursday, April 3rd.
Then later at NBC.
We will have those stories and, of course, a lot more here on Sunday Today.
It was high profile. In the late 80s, there weren't a lot of female news anchors. Certainly not pregnant ones.
And I was anchoring with Gareth Utley, a esteemed journalist, and he had never sat next to somebody who was throwing up during commercial breaks. And he was just like, kind of like,
She forged ahead in a man's world, much the way she says her mother, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, tried to do as well.
She was formidable. She was fierce. Yet she grew up in a family where the men were the focus and they were the first row, so to speak.
I got a sense that you just didn't feel like you were kind of seen truthfully, I guess.
Yeah, I think my mother, was focused on her work. She was focused on her brothers. I have no doubt she loved me. I have no doubt she wanted to push me 24/7, and she did.
Did that experience change the way you decided to be a mom?
Oh,
How
yeah,
you wanted to mother?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. My door was always open. I just hope that my kids know that they were, makes me cry, but, the priority of my life. I hung with them and I had time with them and time for them.
Eunice Shriver died in 2009. Her father, Sergeant Shriver, just a few years later, after a long battle with Alzheimer's. Ever since, Shriver, who grew up in Camelot, found that disease was the dragon she wanted to slay.
Every 66 seconds, another brain will develop Alzheimer's disease, and 2/3 of those brains belong to women.
She founded the Women's Alzheimer's Movement at the Cleveland Clinic.
So let's come together and do this for every single woman.
And pushed the Biden administration for a comprehensive plan to fund research into all kinds of women's health issues.
We, as half the population, deserve answers not just on Alzheimer's, but on endometriosis, on menopause, on migraines, on osteoporosis, on MS.
She has used her public voice for all kinds of causes all her life. But her poetry, she says, is her private voice. And this time, Maria Shriver's cause is herself.
Life hasn't turned out exactly the way I thought, but I sit here today in love with my life, deeply grateful. I'm at peace, and I really spent a lot of years not at peace. Some people would say, who know me well, you're not at peace, you're restless and you're driven and all that sort of stuff, but I'm really content with my life, and I'm proud of myself finally.